Hello, West Michigan. Welcome. This is Bryant Myers with Forever Young, a show where we teach you about growing younger instead of growing older. Today my guest is Joseph Johnson.
Yeah.
Hey, Joseph, at Balance for Life.
Balance in Life.
Balance in Life, yeah. And today we're going to talk about something that I'm really excited about. It's something called whole body vibration. And this is something that's kind of, I guess you could say, it's kind of taken America by storm in some sense. It's something a lot of health clubs are starting to carry. A lot of people are starting to hear about it. And Joseph, could you let's kind of go back to the history here, because I think it's a really interesting history of whole body vibration.
Yeah.
And kind of go back to I guess it's the Russian space program originally.
Yeah, originally whole body vibration was developed by Dr. Vladimir Nazarov in the Soviet Union in the late 70s, 78, 79 area. At the time, the idea was to develop something for the cosmonauts who were losing bone density on really long space travel flights. Mm-hmm. And what they found was that the whole body vibration would help to reverse some of the bone loss issues that they were having and would help them maintain normal bone density. They were also using it with the Olympic athletes as well, as it helped to improve muscular power, jumping ability, and strength overall.
Interesting. So the Russian astronauts, they held some, as far as like staying time in space, they were able to stay in space a lot longer than the Americans. And
that was one of the keys, was that they were, one of the issues that the astronauts or cosmonauts have is that staying in space so long starts to have adverse effects on bone density and other issues. And this was one of the tools that allowed them to stay in space much longer, because they could come back and regain the bone density right away.
Right. So can you just tell us, I mean, right behind us here we have this Galileo. I don't know. This was sort of similar to one of the original devices that was used.
Yes.
Can you just kind of explain how it works here? And maybe in just a second I'll do we can do a little demo.
Sure. Well, the Galileo 2000 was developed by Dr. Carmelo Bosco in Rome. Mm-hmm. He picked up on the idea from the Russians in the early 80s and started to experiment with different applications. So the initial one was kind of crude, the vibration was, and he started to kind of develop a more sophisticated model. And what he found was that by putting it on a fulcrum and allowing for greater amplitude, so that on each side the platform would create more G's on the body. And what this one will create is about 22 G's on the body, allowing for a lot more muscular work than would otherwise be possible with maybe 2 or 3 millimeter displacement.
Okay, so when you say a fulcrum, it's almost like a teeter-totter, a seesaw, as opposed to, say, like up and down, like some of the other units on the market.
Exactly. And that's what creates the advantage, and it's actually patented, so a lot of the other companies can't copy that, but that's the patented version that Dr. Bosco developed originally.
Okay. Yeah. And when you say 22 Gs, that's, 1 G is like the gravitational field like we feel just standing on the Earth.
Right.
So 22 is effectively like 22 times more force.
It's significant.
Yeah. So
this is what allows for a great increase in muscular power in a very short period of time. They've done multiple studies where even high-level athletes were able to improve the vertical jump by 4 inches in 6-8 weeks, which is very significant with a high-level athlete, especially in a short period of time. And the main reason why is because of the pronounced amount of G's that are produced. Also, the other effects that it has on the motor neurons in the body, and also with the flexibility issues, it increases flexibility significantly, and the amount of blood volume that's in the muscle, which will allow for a quicker recovery, takes away waste products and whatnot. So it has, wide-ranging effects on the athlete's body.
Okay, so can you just kind of tell at the muscular level how this works? So it's vibrating. You were telling me like there's a certain range, 25 to... What
they found was the best range for vibration was between 25 and 27 hertz. Everybody actually has an ideal hertz level, but the range between 25 and 27 is a narrow bandwidth that actually has a very positive effect. Below that, a lot of times it won't have any effect. Above that, actually can have negative effects. Now, you could go up to 30 and still be within a positive range, but getting above like 35 would have a negative effect on the body.
Oh, okay.
And also, overexposure to the vibration, it should be mentioned, can be a negative too, even in the right bandwidth. So, Dr. Bosco never recommended anyone exceeding 10 minutes in a day in a session. So there also can be negatives too much, too much of a good
too
thing,
much,
I guess,
okay.
if you will. But what's actually happening is it's forcing the muscles non-volitionally to contract and relax in one cycle 1,500 times in 1 minute. And then the actual contractions, I believe, are 25 to 30 in a minute, the actual contractions themselves.
Okay.
But what will happen up and down the muscle spindle, it'll go through a contract and relax cycle about 1,500 times in 1 minute, which is something you can't do volitionally.
Yeah.
And the other great thing about it is that they found that 5 minutes on the vibration platform would be the equivalent of about a 45-minute workout with you doing it on your own. So it can perform things that you can't do, on your own.
But you're saying it's 5 minutes. You're saying 3 times a week. You don't really need a whole lot more than that.
No, 3 times a week, 5 to 10 minutes, depending on what the goal is. Now, with an Olympic level athlete, you probably use all 10 minutes, and you may use it 3 times a week. If it's a geriatric patient who's just looking for better gait, they're having maybe some balance issues. Twice a week, 5 to 6 minutes will do the trick, and as will be the case with a lot of other conditions that we're treating.
Yeah. So can you just kind of go over some of the research that's sort of around the world since the time? Now we've already talked about bone density, a few things.
Yeah.
But what are some others? I know there's a long list. I remember reading there's a long list of benefits on the body.
Hormonally, it typically changes the hormone profile by increasing growth hormone levels by about 300% on average.
Wow.
Within 4 to 6 weeks, and increase testosterone by about 7%, and decrease cortisol, which is the inflammatory hormone, by about 30% on average.
So the percentage, because human growth hormone, there's some upper class, richer people getting growth hormone injections for, it's thousands of dollars.
Significant.
It's very expensive.
Yes.
And that's sort of suspect whether there's any side effects.
Yeah.
But this, you're naturally stimulating your own pituitary gland to produce, you're saying, up to 300%?
Up to 300%. Yeah, that's what the research showed that Carmelo produced.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and that was well documented and done over and over again. So it definitely, produced, those kinds of results. So on the hormonal level, you've got really great significant things going on there. Blood-wise, or circulation-wise, I should say, you see a doubling of blood flow to the lower extremities from about the waist down. This happens by the smaller blood vessels being dilated about double their normal size, and within X amount of weeks, typically you see the blood flow double via a Doppler. Which is significant for your neuropathy patient, diabetic neuropathy patients who typically have poor blood flow to their extremities. We'll find within a few weeks here at the office that blood flow returns to normal.
Wow.
In a very short period of time.
When you say Doppler, I know I've seen those microcirculation where they can check someone's circulation and see there's literally no blood flow to certain parts, and then certain things. I know I've seen in magnetic therapy too. They've had benefits restoring blood flow.
Yeah, they'll go back and check. They've done this with the Galileo. They'll go back and check and find that the blood flow is normal. In X amount of weeks, depending on the severity. In some of the particulars of the case, but a lot of times it'll come back. Yeah. It's almost probably one of the most predictable things that will happen with vibrations. The blood flow will come back. Because the blood vessels are going to dilate under that amount of vibration, double their normal size.
Yeah.
So what we'll see is blood flow to areas that were, like you said, maybe even dying to some degree or another, and it will save a severe diabetic neuropathy patient from having an amputation,
right?
Which could be a reality.
So anything else with the circulatory system? Because you were saying that was one of the problems out in space, is they get blood clots.
Well, it's a possibility, and there wasn't a lot of documented research that I have on that. But definitely, it did have the positive effect on the overall circulatory system. It didn't affect the heart, though. It was more peripheral. So there was nothing related back to the major blood vessels or the heart, but the peripheral system was significantly improved as circulation was. How that relates to the other, I'm not really sure, because there wasn't any real strong documented research on that. But the other benefit, as you asked, with ladies with urinary stress incontinence, significant improvement there with those patients.
Well, let's take a break here. Then we're going to come back and we'll talk about more of the benefits.